Pat, thank you so much for being here. It has been a joy to coach you, and something that I would love before we jump into your recent wins, which have just been phenomenal and so great to witness. Back when you started in the program, I would love for you to just kind of share your starting point, what your beliefs were, and you've done such a great job at implementing those in really practical, like day-to-day practical ways that shifted your energy, brought work-life balance into it. If you could just take us to the beginning and then walk us through what belief shifts you made to get to where you're at, that would just be phenomenal.
Sure. So I guess just a quick background, right? So I've been recruiting for a little over 9 years, and I'm probably like a lot of you. I had some very good years and some down years, right? Kind of riding that roller coaster. And after a while, I'm thinking, I don't think this is sustainable, right? I got to get, just a lot more process oriented. I got to get stuff that's going to be more predictable. So kind of everything that Mike just walked you through is stuff that really hit for me because I'm like a lot of recruiters. I'm a solo operator. I do have a virtual assistant that helps me, but a lot of times I'm just white knuckling on that roller coaster up and down, right? So I joined TRU back in February, and I'll walk you through kind of my piece because I've had a lot of recent success, right? But I also want to tell you that I haven't had, I'm actually tracking a little bit behind where my goal is for the year, but based on where I was 3-4 months ago, I'm doing a lot better, right? So I kind of went through a phase where I was making a lot of changes, doing different things. And then I had a lot of success. So I'll kind of walk through that. But probably the biggest thing for me is I've been part of other recruiting groups before and other consulting groups like this. And for me, there's a lot of good things that you can learn, right, from all of them. But for me, the biggest differentiator, I think, that TRU has is this mindset piece. And it's just constantly the line that Mike used earlier about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? And it's constantly like that. So when I do a coaching session with Francis, we go into some spots like, I don't know about this. And we kind of get out of that comfort zone a bit, right? I actually had a coaching call earlier with Pam today. Same sort of thing. And we started working to something, I don't know about that. And Pamaya, are you going to commit to that or not kind of thing, right? We went through some different things, but so much of it is just that is around the mindset, right? And so for me, like I'm very process oriented and I'm big about habits. I know if I can create the right habits, then I'll have success, right? So for me, a lot of it's been around, I know I need to create new habits and get rid of old habits and bad habits, right? And again, in a very abstract way, it's easy to say that, but it's another thing to kind of start doing that. And I think that's the part where the mindset piece comes in for me, right? So as I'm very process oriented, I just kind of had to take those leaps and little bit by little bit, try this out, right? Do this, and the whole point around the limiting beliefs is very powerful, right? And I catch myself all the time saying certain words or saying a sentence in a certain way that it's especially to people like Francis, as it screams limiting belief. Hey, did you realize you think this and it's probably not true, right? So the mentality part, right? This whole mindset piece. But one of I think the key learnings that I came up with Francis, and when we were working together about a month ago was, I choose mentality. I choose to do this. I choose to do that. And we kind of even took it back to the point of you really don't have to do anything in life. The only thing you have to do is you have to die. That's it, right? So if you take it very starkly like that, everything that you choose to do, like everything that you're doing, you choose to do, right? So I said, well, I have to support my family. I have to support my kids in college. I have to do this. You don't have to. You choose to do those things, right? And all of a sudden, that mindset right there, that one piece, that choose mentality, kind of lifts a lot off your shoulder. Is like, oh, yeah, it's a powerful thing, right? So that would be one of the many things, I guess I would say, in terms of the mindset piece that has helped me, is that choose mentality, Francis.
That's fantastic. And I kind of want to roll it back to something that you said that was super interesting. And I want everyone to really pick up on this. Was that when you said little bit by little bit, 2020 was an actual real challenge for a lot of recruiters, and we didn't have the mindset tools. So could you tell us maybe one of those little bits? Because, and you're kind of digging your way out of a hole before you get onto level ground. Like mindset works almost like the ladder. So you're not crawling out, but you're also not overwhelmed, like I have to transform everything all at once. Because you kind of let people know how one little bit, one belief, one decision matrix, which we're about to cover today, really made a practical difference in your life and business.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through this. You know, we talk about mindset all the time, but it really is. It's kind of like just staying in this and trying to analyze yourself, which is easier said than done, right? But that I choose mentality, I think, is a big part of it. And then just catching yourself as you start working through like a limiting belief and start working through that, how you start thinking about things differently, not only in your business, but also in your work. So I think it's more of that mentality around possibilities and you know, as you make these little things, it's constantly being in that frame of mind of that you can constantly get better, right? So if you can maintain that mentality and think about constantly improving, we're always a work in progress, and that we're never going to be 100% finished product, but it's always working towards that and getting better and better, I guess. So that might be part of it. I don't know if that's what you're looking for.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where it's been one step at a time. And I was just thinking one of the things that the little bits that you really fascinated me with one of your changes was it was about energy. Do you remember when we were coaching about energy?
Yeah, let me talk about that a little bit. Yeah, so in terms of energy and specifically around breathing, right? So we went through an exercise where we just talked about energy and how we are, you know, we are energy driven, you know, like we
Energy generating machines. Yeah,
yeah,
because you were
energy,
dragging through your
right.
day, weren't you? Yeah.
So in terms of that, just there's like, you know, most everybody, right? Like, you know, the day can drag on. And so I was running in this deal where 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the afternoon, I'm just starting to hit the wall and I can't get myself out of there and I just don't have the energy. And in talking with Francis, we just talked through this energy generating machine, how we are, and then we specifically got into talking about breathing and taking a break and doing different things, but also just doing some different breathing techniques and how that can help you kind of refocus and get you back and get you that energy that you need. And so again, this is one of those things where I've used it in work, but I've also used it in my personal life as well through doing different exercises or different things like that, right? So the idea of around energy and, you know, different breathing techniques and stuff like that. And again, it's a good way to kind of center yourself and get yourself back on track to where you need to go.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that because it's such a key component. And you think if we can add 2 productive hours every day for 5 days, that's a massive shift in your business. So thank you for sharing that. And I would love for you to share if you're okay with doing it. These recent wins, you sent us a beautiful email. Thank you so much for doing that. And just share because right, you came from a point of you behind and there's going to be a time frame of working and activity and that what you're doing today impacts 60, 90 days from now. So just share some of those recent wins with us. I would love that.
Yeah, sure. So kind of my deal is I had a not a very good first half of the year, and in fact, my wife was like, "Are you sure you want to stay with this recruiter year? This is costing us a lot of money." And we so had these discussions around that. I just said, "Hey, you know, this stuff's going to work. It's going to pay off." And so I was going through a piece, and I'll specifically talk about one where it was a new client. I was really excited about it. It was a great new kind of a fast growing company, and I was working 3 positions with them, and I tried to get a retainer out of them, and they said, "No, we don't do that." And I was like, "Okay, I'll work this for you." Turns out, you know, I spent a lot of time and effort on it and put lots of really good candidates into it. Hindsight being 2020, it turns out like, you know, you don't know this at the time, but they basically, I'm dealing with a VP and an SVP, and they all kept, you know, they kept referring back to the CEO. So hindsight being 2020, these people couldn't make a decision without their CEO. And eventually they filled 2 of the roles, just that referrals came to their CEO from outside of the business. So it was one of these things that was extremely frustrating because I had, you know, they're high paying jobs, they're going to be great fees, and I didn't get an engagement fee out of them. And I rolled the donut on it. And it was just, you know, just really, really devastating to me, right? And I just kept working and kept getting after it. And I started picking up some other, you know, new business, and I started asking for engagement fees, right? And, you know, for me, retainers or engagement fees, kind of the same thing. The engagement fees are just, I get paid once up front and then the rest later, not multiple payments. But I started picking some of that up, and I ended up getting an engagement with the client. And then all that negative that came out of that one client, 2 months after I was kind of getting over it, one of my best candidates who'd gone through the process with them had landed somewhere else. He reached out to me, and he landed with a new company, and we're able to start working together. Got an engagement fee out of him. And so that actually got actually 2 engagement fees out of him. I placed 2 people there already, and I'm working on a 3rd one. But the long story short is I ended up, kind of rolling the donut there for a while. And then bam, all the stuff that I had working in the pipeline all came together at once. And so I ended up making 5 placements in the matter of like 3 days, right? And billing just a boatload, and billing more than I had all year. And now I'm about on track to hit my goal for the year. I still don't know if I'm going to get it, but I feel a lot better about the things that I'm doing. I still have a pipeline that's working, but also kind of goes to
You
show
can't
through
say that.
I was going to better jump all over that,
I'm
Francis.
going to jump all over that, Pat.
Well, go ahead, beat me up.
Beliefs are decisions. Thank you so much for sharing all that. That was when you sent us that email. I mean, my heart just sang, because the thing with that, there's universal laws at principle here. It's the law of gestation. The activity you do now has to gestate
Right.
until you can receive the benefit, the blessing of that. The cool thing is tomorrow too, they're going to be going deep into metrics, just the law of averages too with that. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. A really good byproduct here, well-intentioned people in our life, when we are moving, when we are changing, remember, our subconscious mind doesn't want that change. And even well-intentioned people, like a loving wife that wants the very best for you, they will project their limiting beliefs onto you all the time. When you want to change, when you want to move forward, they will say things like, are you really sure? Maybe you should quit. I coached someone today, people in their ear telling them they should retire. No, I'm moving forward. And you said that, you claim that. Beliefs are decisions. I know this is going to work. So thank you for your perseverance. It's an honor to get to see that coming together for you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I guess I would just tell other folks out there, right? I'm no different than you. I'm a work in progress. I'm trying to get better all the time, but the foundational things and the principles that these folks are teaching you can really pay off for you. And if you want to get off that roller coaster, I feel myself coming off that roller coaster now. And I feel good about kind of the direction I'm going. And a big part of it, of course, is the stuff that I've learned through Francis and Mike and everybody else.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mike. You have any other?
Yeah, one of the things, because like you talked about the gestation period and the thing, you were working intimately with Pam. So I saw the note that you sent. And that's why Pam recommended you, right? So he made 5 deals in 3 days, right? No coaching company, no training company. There's no process. There's no technique that allows for that, right? It's, you had a bunch of things you kind of talked about. You had a bunch of things blow up, right? That contingency assignment you took, you sent a bunch of candidates, the CEO had to be involved. You learned a lot from that, which helped you get the retainers. But the other thing is, and again, I'm going to teach in depth on this tomorrow, but what I like about Pat's situation here, it's just a perfect example. If you've been in this business a while, there's periods we go through, and if you're not measuring it, you think it's random, where everything you touches turns to stone, which was kind of like the first half of your year, Pat.
Yep.
Like you weren't doing anything significantly better on those 5 that closed probably than the things that fell apart, right? Yep. You might have improved, but we know that it's, depending on your desk, it's anywhere from 5 to 8 first-time interviews to a placement. So Pat, we know through his metrics portal, was stacking interviews and getting no revenue, but he was due for a bunch of placements. And a lot of times they happen all at once, right? They happen all at once. Like you've all probably experienced that. You had these really good months or these really good quarters, and they're like, I'm the same guy or gal I was, and I'm blanking. And when you're not tracking the activity, because I was running a meeting in June with our boardroom clients, and these are people with $2-3 million offices, and they use metrics, and we do hot seats, like what's your biggest challenge, and we all kind of like give the person some ideas. He goes, I want to talk about. He goes, we're in a revenue slump. We're having kind of a down second quarter, and I want to see what we can do to fix it. And I had all his data. I go, no, you're not. All the interviews are there. All the interviews are there. This is going to pop in July, in late June or July. And especially when it's a significant number, I go, I will not allow you to talk about that. We will not waste the group's time because you're doing everything you need to generate revenue, which kind of put them off a little bit. And then they emailed me at the beginning of July and they said, well, we wanted to let you know that you weren't wrong. They wouldn't say I was right. They said, because they had this huge 4 weeks and the number came back to their median mean number. So, we were talking, I like to keep this week kind of focus on the mindset piece and the shifts you did, but also you also had to do all the activity pack that led to, that bundle of 5 placements in 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, I was working it in kind of that whole trust the process mindset, right? Just
Right.
trust the process, just keep busting it, right? But like I told Pam this morning on our coaching call, 3 months ago, I was a terrible recruiter and I'm a freaking genius. Well, obviously, neither one of those things are true.
Neither one.
But that's kind of what you do, right? You look at those numbers, and that's how I've always been, right? It's like you look at the numbers, I'm not getting it, right? And so anyway, one little footnote to my story that I'll add is that, going back to that initial client that I didn't do the retainer fee on and that burned me, the recruiter reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, Pat, I don't know if we ever got that contract signed. I definitely want to have that on file in case we need to use your services again. And I replied back to her just last week and said, hey, thanks, I appreciate it. Just want to let you know, though, as we move forward, I'm only going to work on a retainer for you folks, right? And so I haven't heard back from her yet, but it's kind of a little bit of my, so far, I want to go back and get a retainer out of them, right? And then lay out my frustrations with them about, hey, here's what we did last time. You guys couldn't make decisions, or we're going to make a decision, right? Those types of things, and kind of level set again. But I thought it was kind of funny in the middle of all that ends up coming back. So there is a lot of truth around, like, the stuff that I'm doing today might not pay off immediately for me, but it could at some point down the line. And that's just a great example of it.
It's perfect. It's a great example.